This is a call to order for the special meeting of the Bridgeport Board of Education. Today's Thursday, January 15th. It is 6:05 p.m. I'm Chair Jennifer Perez. In attendance in person, we have Maritza Shamira Jimenez, Albert Benahan, Robert Traber. Online, we have Joanne Burks Jennings, Willie Medina, Joseph Kolovic, Lamont Daniels, and Andre Woodson. So we have a quorum. Is that it, Joseph? Yes. We're going to start with the approval of the minutes for special meeting January 5th, 2026. It says 25, but it should be 26. Mr. Traber made a motion to approve the meeting minutes. Just make sure you guys are using microphones. And Mr. Benahan seconded the motion. Is there any amendments? Are there any amendments to it? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
I abstain.
Abstention as well, Sakalovic.
Are you, yes? Okay, there are 1, 2, 3. I'm abstaining 4. Are there any yays for this? We need 5. All right, we're moving on. We won't pass that today. I don't hear enough votes. We'll move for the next agenda. Next item is the ratification of the Bridgeport Council for Administrators and Supervisors for BCAS contract. We have Floyd Dugas.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to present for your approval a collective bargaining agreement to cover the BCAS bargaining unit, the administrators bargaining unit, for a period commencing September 1, 2026. Just a few words before I describe the settlement. Whenever we go into contract negotiations, we do a couple of things, one of which is we look at the salaries of your administrators relative to other administrators and other relevant groups. Typically, we look at the DERG, we look at the Anglic ranking of the city and compare it to comparable cities, and we also look at the surrounding communities. And when we went into these negotiations, I was delighted to find that your salaries were actually competitive. I expected to see that they were below the market, but obviously you're not going to compete with Fairfield, Trumbull, and Westport. But generally speaking, compared to the others, your salaries I thought were in good shape. So we weren't in a situation where we had to provide something above the norm to catch folks up to where they should be. The other thing, and of course, we look at the contract to see if there's anything out of the ordinary in there, and there really wasn't. There were some positions that the superintendent felt strongly needed to be excluded from the bargaining unit, if you will, first tier lieutenants, so to speak, and people he was going to lean on very heavily. That was a priority. And we also, of course, always look at health insurance and cost share contributions. So we looked at all of those issues. We also we keep very close track of not only what happened last year in contract negotiations for school administrators, but also what's been going on during the current year. The current year would be, let's say, July of 25 through about now. Pretty much all the contracts are settled. And what I could tell you is that the average administrator contract was settling just a click below 3% a year. So if you want to round it up and call it an average of 3% a year. So we engaged in negotiations, I think it was a very cooperative, collaborative process, which is always something we strive to do, to maintain good relations. And we were able to get an agreement without having to go to binding arbitration, which also is very good. Aside from the money that it saves, it just sets the right tone for the next contract term with the bargaining unit. So all of that said, the contract is a 3-year contract, so it'll go from September 1, 26 through August of 29. We agreed to a general wage increase of 2.75% each year for all positions, with a couple of exceptions, all positions, which is a little bit below the state average, which I think is appropriate given, the financial situation in the district, as well as the fact that the wages are solid going into the process. There were a couple adjustments we made. In the current contract, there's a breakdown for principals of schools, 420 students and below, and then there's another tier of 899, 421 to 899. The union requested and made a good case for the fact that principals in schools of 420 below were working as hard as the other folks, particularly given assistance and staffing in those schools. And so we agreed to eliminate that lower tier and move those folks up and pay them the same as people in schools 899, 421 to 899. One thing that's a little new that we agreed to was a tuition reimbursement for those people who want to go on and get additional degrees, improve themselves, and hopefully the school district as a result of that. We agreed to $500 per credit up to a maximum of 6 credits, but also agreed that the total cost so you can budget appropriately would be $30,000. So that's what the budget item would have to be set. There was also an issue regarding traveling between schools. This is for special ed supervisors, I think, was a particular issue. And so we agreed to a small stipend for just 10 months of the year for those folks who did travel from different schools. And then we eliminated some, what I thought was obsolete language having to do with early retirement incentives. Generally speaking, early retirement incentives don't make sense for administrators because there's generally not enough savings there to justify whatever you might pay out. And of course, in this day and age, we want to keep folks rather than, have to look for more. So that's basically it. In terms of the health insurance cost shares, the administrators and your administrators were paying more than the statewide average. That's kind of a phenomena here in Bridgeport. We've seen with cops and other groups, and it's broken down into 2 groups, pre-2014, post-2014. So we froze the people who had the higher percentage and are letting the other folks catch up, but that's still a very competitive, if not above market contribution. So that's really the only other thing I would point out is we did, there was some concern, I won't speak for him, but on the part of the superintendent, that some folks were walking out the door earlier than they should in terms of administrators. And we put language in saying that the minimum work week is a 40-hour work week. And that really rounds out the changes we made. So I'm happy to answer any questions anybody may have. I think it's a good settlement and for both the district and for the administrators, and I certainly recommend it.
Any questions from board members? Ms. Esther-Jimenez.
I have a quick question about the health insurance. I know that's one of the things on our budget that is extremely high, and you just confirmed it's more than state average. I was taking a training from CABE last week, and they mentioned that if we have wellness programs, that can help reduce up to 30% of, I believe they said 30% of our health insurance premium. So I kind of wanted to know if we have a wellness program, and if so, what is it, and is it expected to help reduce our premiums?
Yeah, I don't know what you currently have. Oh, right. Yeah, it's part of the state partnership plan. So it is in there and it's mandated. I think the jury's out on whether there's empirical data to support that happens, but it does make sense. If people go early, things are taken care of before they become more serious.
Mr. Traber.
Yeah,
Oh, just your microphone.
are these dates correct? The older employees were paying more than the newer hires?
Um,
It's usually the other way around. That's why I'm asking.
yeah, I believe the, I may have that reversed. Let me take a quick peek.
And usually when you have a two-tier system, it's the new hires that you are shorting, not the old.
Yeah.
Through the chair.
Dr. Ruby.
Tita, are you able to answer that question? If you can come to the mic. I know you, but I do want to emphasize that through this negotiation, this was my first time in
I'm sorry,
administrative contract negotiations.
Correct, I have it reversed.
They're reversed.
Yeah, it's reversed.
Sorry about that.
I do want to kind of emphasize that this is my first time in contract negotiations, and I do want to extend a huge thank you to Floyd and my team, but also to Tito and his team. Did a great job of trying to make sure that we understand and balance the needs of, and also looking at the fiscal responsibility of what both parties need to have, and had a really some really good meetings, tough meetings, but really good. So I'm glad we came to an agreement to be where we are today. So again, I want to thank you and Floyd as well for leading my group to really pleasing outcome, I think. So I thank you.
My pleasure.
Mike,
Correct in the contract, just not in the summary.
okay, so we just have to switch these headings.
Correct.
You are getting the old timers, you're bringing the old timers up to the same rate as the newer hires.
Correct.
Okay. And then has BCAS approved this agreement?
Yes.
51 to 2
51 to 2.
overwhelmingly.
51 to 2.
Yes.
What's that?
Um, well, that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Medina?
Yes, just because it wasn't said, there was a stipend for travel. Where did we land on that?
There is a stipend for only certain positions. So for example, special ed supervisors who bounce around the district. And I think the other group was principals who split schools, I think it was. So it's only a small, relatively small portion of the bargaining unit, but the stipend was relatively small, $25 per pay period for the period of time for 10 months of the year.
Thank you.
Mr. Sakalovic?
Yeah, sorry, I got an announcement on the call. Yeah, excuse me for a minute. I got a question about the contract. How many pages is it? Because all I'm seeing and the only thing I've got any knowledge of is what's on the screen right now. And I
The
don't-
contract, yeah, the contract itself with redlining is about 30 pages. It probably, for 35, it probably reduces after the red line to about 30 pages.
All right, and is there, Dr. Avery, is there any particular reason that this isn't in the portal?
Through the chair. My understanding that it was sent to that office, but not sure why it's not in the portal, sir.
Right, so I think I'm gonna have to abstain. I can't even come up with intelligent questions because I haven't seen the contract. And all due respect, we've already got one thing reversed in the contract, so it's always better to see something with your own eyes before you vote on it. Thank you.
Yeah, just to be clear, the contract itself is correct. It's only the summary I provided where the two
Correct,
things
yeah,
were
I got you.
transposed.
But I'm more comfortable seeing what I'm voting on than just hearing somebody tell me what it says.
Mr. Bennahan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm making motion to set ratification of the Bridgeport Council for Administrator of Supervisor BCAS contract.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Bennahan, seconded by Mr. Draver. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You guys, online, just unmute yourself to vote so I can hear.
Right.
Any
I'm
opposed?
just gonna,
You're abstaining, you said?
I'm gonna vote no, because we have not seen the contract and we should not be voting on anything we do not see.
Any other no's?
Can you hear me?
Mr. Daniels, you were,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, I have two people talking. Mr. Daniels.
Okay, no, I just hear a lot of echo.
Mhm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I vote yes.
And then Mr. Woodson, you said
No.
the two no's. I think I heard everybody else. So we have Mr. Woodson and Mr. Sakala for no. Any abstentions? So that motion passes.
Medina.
Medina's abstaining. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dugas.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda, we usually don't do this on a special meeting. Oh, sorry. We usually don't do this for a special meeting, but I do want to give you guys an update on the special the state intervention, sorry. Prior to the holidays, Deputy Commissioner Hughes reached out to me, Mr. Sakalovic, and we invited Ms. Estremera Jimenez to meet regarding an upcoming superintendent search and some items that just reviewing the past year on what we've done and accomplished. So initial meeting was canceled due to a snowstorm, I believe, early December or late December. And then the deputy commissioner did send us a letter that we had to add to the portal. And it was basically a letter that, to sum it up, you know, they do want to see us working on our bylaws and making sure that we do update our bylaws for the decorum of the board and some other items that we had discussed earlier in the year or in last year to work on. And so today we actually did meet with Deputy Commissioner Hughes, Jody and Nick from CABE, and David Irwin. Am I saying his name right? Irwin, yeah, David Irwin from the Technical Assistance Team, and our city attorney, Taisha Thomas, joined us. And basically what came out of the meeting, and Mr. Kalvik and Ms. Estremera Jimenez, just add on if I'm missing something. There are some things that we do need to clean up as a board still, including, this is something that we'll give directive to the superintendent to do, but the policies on our website are messy. There's a lot of confusion there. So that needs to be addressed sooner than later. And then as far as the board goes, there are some policies that he wants us to look at in the 2000 series that might be contradictory to other policies we have, and some in the 3000 series. So Taisha Toms, who was with us, the city attorney, we're gonna send over the policies to her so she can look over them, and then we'll bring them back to a policy committee to review. As far as our bylaws go, there are some areas that we do need to work on in terms of our decorum. And the basis for that is that, the rationale for that is that if we are going for a superintendent search, we want to make sure that the superintendent knows their role and know that the board is going to work cohesively with that superintendent. And we're not going to be all over the place, and past history, the events that we've had in past history, you know, repeat themselves. So that's something that we as a board do need to work on. We do have, we talked about an action plan to get that done sooner in the next few months. And what they did not say is, they did not say that we can't start a superintendent search. So we did ask if we can go ahead and do a search. They are not stopping us from it, but they are highly recommending that we take care of these issues as soon as possible, so that when the search does commence, we have candidates who want to be in our district because they see that we're working on ourselves, basically. Ms. Eshemir Jimenez, Mr. Sakalik, if you want to add to that, that's a quick summary. But Mr. Sakalik.
That looks like you hit all the points.
Okay. So with that said, that's kind of the update from the state. What I'll be doing is, or we'll be doing is looking at in committee, the policy committee will be heavily working on really clearly defining these bylaws that were recommended, and as well as those 2000 and 3000 series. We're working with the city attorney on that. Questions about that, Ms. Traber?
Well, first off, I didn't see whether Ms. Esther Mara Jimenez wanted to add anything. Okay. The tone in this meeting is dramatically different than what we've had in the past.
Mhm.
It sounds like. This is a year after you received a letter, and I believe the attorney was present for this meeting, the State Department of Ed attorney.
Yes, he was actually there today. Yes.
Who sent you a letter a year ago saying cease and desist.
Mhm.
If it was a Friday Night Massacre letter, where basically you got a letter, an email that was sent to the press and nobody else but you and the press,
Mhm.
not even our city attorney or Mr. Dugas, neither of our attorneys received this letter. And now all of a sudden we're being told, and it made the press, the headlines. And now we're being told, oh, well, you can go ahead and look. We were wrong about how the resolution should be read. Now, the damage is done. It's nice that they're trying to work, but this is the way we should have been working a year ago. It sounds like, and it sounds like it was a constructive discussion.
It was very constructive, and I will say they weren't entirely wrong in some of the, like, this needs to happen, the bylaws and the updating our policies.
I'm not arguing about the ideas,
Mhm.
but this is the discussion they should have had with you and whomever else a year ago. You know, hey, we have some thoughts on how it would be better to proceed with the search a year ago. And we could have been looking a year ago and making these changes a year ago, working with our TAT team that was part of the resolution that they passed a year ago. And look where we would be if this had been done a year ago. I'm just saying that, you know, instead we would have had a collaborative relationship a year ago that you started today, with some good, would sound like, you know, from Mr. Sakalovic, from Ms. Esther Mara Jimenez, from you, all saying that it was, they were constructive ideas. It's frustrating that you get this attitude a year later that we should have had a year ago. And where we could have been if we had had this a year ago. And, you know, that was what we were led to believe a year ago, was what we were going to get from the state, was a collaborative relationship. And it was about a week or two later that the deputy commissioner was reporting to his board all the wonderful things he had done to help Bridgeport. And 90% of them were things that we had done for ourselves, to help Bridgeport. So it's good to hear that we're going to finally start having the relationship we should have had a year ago. And I'm sorry to say, I'm not trying to be, but it is important to call, you know, to put it in perspective, that this is nice to do now, but we should have been doing this a while ago. And, you know, maybe we'll still get our $5 million. But are we going to look for a search firm, or can we use the one we had, or?
We're gonna look into the contract that we had. I've sent it to city attorney's office so they can review it. I know the state has been in contact with that firm as well for us to see, you know, where we stand. So that'll be to be determined. They did give some recommendations on that. And so we'll definitely have this on agenda so we could discuss in full detail, in the near future.
Because I'd like us to be proceeding concurrently.
Mhm.
I mean, these sound like positive suggestions,
Mhm.
but I'd like us to be proceeding concurrently. Whatever we need to do to select and decide on a search firm and moving on that, the same time as we're acting on whatever it is they've suggested we do. I don't disagree on the website. It has been confusing to me. I just assume it's because I'm an old guy who doesn't understand how to get through technology. But I think that that would be a constructive thing. I'm not, when we elaborate further on the suggestions they've made on the policy changes, we can look at that. We have enough to do tonight. But as we look in more detail at the suggestions they made, I would hope that we're also proceeding with the decisions we need to make on what search firm and how we're going to act on making those decisions as a committee of the whole, and move on it.
Mhm.
So that we can start moving quickly, because we know any other district in the state is also doing that now. And out of respect to Dr. Avery.
Any further questions, Mr. Benningham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be honest to the point. I know the website and the bylaws, yeah, we have to update it, we have to fix things, and we are not the only one. Other organization, another town, they always have to fix and, and update bylaws, anything on policy. But the situation about search the superintendent, we don't hold it. The state hold it. We supposed to have the superintendent long time ago. They are the one that say no this and no that. And I'm very glad they're watching our meeting, because first they sent 3 gentlemen from the state, amazing people, and then they send another group. So I'm the point. What are they looking for? They hold the search because they want to, and I believe we lost the credit about the firm we have. Are they gonna pay that? Because we have that credit. Thanks to them, we lost that. So we ready a long time ago, and I'm agree with what Mr. Trevor said. So it's not the point like we don't want to do it or we're behind, because we update of everything. We on top of everything. As the board members, superintendent, the cabinet, all the staff, we ready. Bridgeport's not playing, and we the city. They know the city is big. So we are not the one wasting time. They are the one wasting our time to be searching and trying to do the protocol and the policy the way it is. And they know what we want. They really know. What else they want, I don't know. They can take us money. We want money for our kids. So for the record, they know we're ready. So I hope this situation, we start searching the superintendent the way it is, because it's time. Enough is enough. Thank you.
So I did want to say, and then I'll go back to you, is that, just to clarify, one of the things that we're working on is the board and superintendent relations, so that we can attract candidates. So that's one of the reasons why it's been held up a little bit. We had to clarify those policies. Ms. Esther Mary Jimenez.
Yep. So one thing that I did want to add, which was kind of nice to hear from them, is that yes, we do have to do these, what I would call 3 action items. So updating a few policies within the 2000 series, updating one through the series 3000 series, and then cleaning up our website. What was really nice is that they kind of left that up to us they didn't impose a timeline on us. It's up to us to do it. And so we're going to be working on getting those items done. It wasn't like, hey, you got to do this by tomorrow, and just like shove a deadline down your throat. They were very sympathetic that we have a lot of stuff going on right now, and they would like this to be done before we do the super search. So that flexibility, I at least really appreciated it. We did talk a little bit about the super search and the prior firm, where the state's attorney basically said it might still be covered, but we really need to look into that and confirm on our own.
Right. I'm gonna.
Good chair.
Yes, Dr. Reed.
I just want to emphasize, time is of the essence.
Mhm.
And just like you guys need time, I've waited a while for a decision to be made by this board. And on behalf of myself and my family, we've been very patient trying to understand, all the craziness that has happened over the last year and a couple of months. So again, I'm telling you, time is of the essence. And I would hope that you guys will be able to expedite what you want to do, be it me or somebody else that you feel is better equipped and qualified than I am. So be it. But I'll just say time is of the essence.
Thank you. I'm also going to update the board on the board committees. You guys received an email earlier this month with the committee assignments. I just want to announce the committees to the public. Operations Committee, I'll be on that committee with Maritza Eshmer Jimenez and Joanne Burks Jennings. Instruction Support Services, Mr. Traber is going to chair that with Willie Medina and Albert Benhan Grajales. Policy Committee, Andre Woodson will chair with Lamont Daniels and Joseph Sokolovic. And then there's some other items on that. The one thing that was still open when I emailed you was Park City Prep, and Mr. Benhan is going to be the liaison for that charter school. So that sums up that. I'll follow up with, for those of you doing the liaison positions, I'll follow up with you on what that entails. We'll connect you with those I lost the words. We'll connect you with those programs, I guess. Mr. Traber.
Yes, Madam Chair. As long as we're doing committees, the ISS committee meeting will be January 28th at 5:30 in room 305. We have set the date and time for that meeting.
So the ISS committee will be, that's like a terrible name, ISS. Think about that now. Structure and Support Services Committee will be every fourth Wednesday.
Fourth Wednesday of the month, which this month will be January 28th, 5:30 in room 305.
Yes, and then Mr. Woodson, if you can connect with Mr. Daniels and Mr. Sokolovic to come up with a mutual date for your committee and get that to Danielle sooner than later so that we can start that process, as well as finance operations. We're still working on the details for our committee, but we'll know by tomorrow. That's the permanent date for the year. All right, moving on. The next item, I know there's some confusion with this item. Approval to suspend the bylaw for 9310 to take immediate action on caves reviewed, recommended, and approved model board bylaws. So this motion, I'm actually going to ask us not to do. And it was initially intended to not necessarily vote on the full bylaws, but there's like one or two that we should implement right away. I was going to do that, but after talking with some of the board members and actually even Dr. Hughes recommended that we just bring this back for a second read so that we can really get some input for the bylaws. I do have Jody online with us. So if I am going to ask that we don't suspend the bylaws, but if we move on to number 6, discussion and immediate action of caves reviewed, recommended and approved model board bylaws. It's a lot. While he's on with us, we can go through some of them now and then refer it back to policy committee for first read or second read. Sorry. So if there are any, I know Mr. Sokolovic is offline and he's, I think he's going to send some he's in the policy committee, so he's going to bring his recommendations to that committee. But if there is anything that came up across that maybe Jody can answer that was any confusion on anything. Mr. Traber?
So you want to have a general discussion of the draft that you gave?
Yeah,
And then we're going to refer it to committee?
Yeah, I know, for instance, there was one or two bylaws that Mrs. Colley brought to my attention and Jody's attention that maybe it doesn't fit for our board. And that's something we can have a further discussion in committee on. But if there's anything like that as a board we can talk about, that way when you go back to, or when the committee meets, everybody has an idea of where the board stands on this. Mr. Medina?
Okay, I pretty much almost had the same question, like you want us to submit them, because I went over through some. And so you want us to submit it to you, or to the?
If right now, while Jody's online, if you need clarification on anything, he can help clarify, because, he wrote these, he.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jody,
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
good evening, yes. And electronic participation, that last line, it says, due to security concerns, electronic participation is closed in executive session and will not be permitted. And when we go to executive session, we do use electronics. Like if I'm on like remotely, I can go into executive session, but there it says in version 2 of the alternate, it says that we're not allowed, or it's not happening.
Can I
Like,
ask
that's
that
Point of
if you bring a policy up, just say then policy number so that we can easily find it,
Or a page
and,
type?
or page number?
But this one doesn't have a page number the way I'm looking at it. I took a photocopy, but let's say it references 9327 at the bottom of the page. I'm sorry, I took a picture of it, so I apologize. But you know, I'll bring it up later through committee. I can send it to him an email. That way, this picture doesn't have a page number. I just know that it does reference on the bottom 9327 electronic mail communication. That's the only thing I can say in
I know that
reference.
for that one, I believe there's 2 versions.
Yeah, that's what
That
I
was
said.
something
It's
that we
alternate
can,
version
like,
too.
in committee, like, look at which version fits us best. But
Right.
Jody, I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, that's exactly right. There are different views, different versions, depending on, again, the model bylaws are designed for the board to use as a basis for its own bylaws. So if you think that, for example, version 1 is too restrictive and version 2 meets your needs better, or you want to add a sentence or take away a sentence, typically that would work pretty fine. You really want to tailor these bylaws to your board needs.
Amen. And to that point, this is one of the things that through Madam Chair, as I have the floor, that I would love for us to consider, and Madam Chair, I would love for you to consider to lead us in this pathway, that we can all sit down as a board and go through these together as a team, because it's going to matter, I think, moving forward, that we are all accountable. We can share with each other insight. When we do it alone, we don't understand where we're coming from. So I definitely suggest that and want to make that suggestion through the chair. Also on page 59, that one I do have a picture with a page 59 is considering the public participation at board meeting. And it just simply says that 3 minutes time limit may be allowed, and it should be stated shall be allowed, because it's something that we're permitting moving forward. Instead of may, that gives us an option. We don't want to have that option. It's something that we're going to implement. So I'm just saying that it should say shall be allowed, the 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
I'll
think that's
send
a really
out the
good
other
point.
one.
I think that's a good point. I would prefer, and from my perspective, I think shall would be a better word than may in this case.
And I'll send the other ones, Madam Chair. Thank you.
If you do want to send anything, and just, can you attach Danielle to it? Because she can, make notes for us on the draft copy. Is that okay,
Absolutely.
Danielle? I think that's okay with Danielle. Okay. Anybody else, Ms. Jimenez, did you have your hand up?
I did. I have a bunch of, actually, they're not a bunch of edits, but there are a number of edits. Do we want to reserve that for later on, or, because mine are pretty straightforward and I don't have any like policy specific
I
change.
think for edits, we can do in committee, and then if we have general questions for Jody for any clarification purposes on a policy, I think that's what we could do right now.
Okay, no, I'm good then.
Mr. Traber, did you have anything? I know Mr. Sokolovic went over some things with Jody, myself this morning or this afternoon, so anyone else? Jody, did you want to add anything?
No, just that as the board continues to review these bylaws, I'm always available. So if it's a policy committee meeting,
if it's a conversation with the policy chair, whatever I can do to assist you as you firm up these bylaws, I'm available.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels.
Yeah, and please forgive me if I'm asking in the question. But can this be sent to us through email, or is that in the portal? Because I'm still trying to figure out this portal thing.
They are in the portal. And Danielle says she'll forward it to you in an email.
I greatly appreciate it.
It is in the portal already.
Yeah, it's in the portal. There's been issues with the portal.
Oh.
But yeah, we'll get you.
I appreciate it. And I'm sure I'll have some comments. Thank you.
And I do want to say that when we do refer this to committee, I will recommend that we really focus on the pieces that like the decorum piece. And I'll sit with I'll join the committee those days too. But some of those items that the state was looking for last year, that we really focus on those. The rest of it is just really good policy that we should have. Or I shouldn't say, I know there's some conflicts, but in my perspective, there's a lot of additions that we don't currently have that would be like, for instance, a consent calendar, or things like that should be added to our bylaws. But that's something we could work through in committee. Mr. Medina.
Yes, I'm not sure this is the moment, but I'm wondering, are we tabling this item at this moment?
No, we're
Or-
gonna. My recommendation would be to refer it to committee for the
Thank
first
you.
for the read.
Perfect. I second.
Well, I didn't make the motion. But
I move that we refer
Mr. Faber is.
this bylaw draft to the policy committee.
It's been moved by Mr. Traver. Now Mr. Medina
Second.
is seconding it. Any further discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? So, we will get you the date of the policy committee and see if you're available that day. And so, yeah, I'll keep in touch via email with you. And thank you for your support in this. We
Very
spent
good. I
about
look forward
5
to
hours doing this and then another hour today. So,
I look forward to our continued work. We'll get this done.
thank you, Jody.
Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you, Jody.
This was an item that was brought to my attention from, I think you guys talked about it last week in the meeting, but I know other folks, other times it was brought up, a discussion of possible approval of creating an ad hoc committee regarding the facilities master plan and or the decommissioning of Old Bassett High School. So I know that the facilities master plan has been a hot topic, and we do want to get working on or going on some of that work. So including possible new buildings, possible closures. And so I think the best way to do that would be in a separate ad hoc committee. Ad hoc is a temporary committee. It's not a standing committee. So this is something that we'll have set. The first meeting you make of this will have some set goals to achieve. I'm imagining that this committee will include community input and having those forums, really get those started to have community conversations as far as the facilities master plan. And in that conversation, I think we do need to discuss the decommissioning of the Old Bassett High School. It does cost us a lot of money to keep that building around. And I know that some board members do, there's a conversation with board members. Some people do want to keep it. Others do want to give it back because of the cost. And so those are some things that we really need to discuss in depth. And I know Mr. Garcia has shared some information with us regarding both. So I see Mr. Medina, you have your hand up.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just want to make sure, because I know we read 5. Should we be also voting on 6? I just want to make sure we.
That's what we voted on, 6.
We voted at
5
6. Okay.
Was not moved.
Okay, thank you.
So back to 7. Are there any questions regarding ad hoc committee and Mr. Traber?
And just to make sure I'm clear, this ad hoc committee, the fact that you mentioned the old Bassett High School is not the sole subject of it. This would be a broader committee, so it would be looking at the plan with regard to the proposed East End school and the need to have a complete and thorough discussion with the affected community.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes. As far as decommissioning of Old Bassett High School, that would be something that in that committee should be brought up ASAP because of the cost.
I understand. I understood that. I just wanted to make sure that it is broader than that.
Yeah.
I understood the immediacy of that.
Mhm.
But I wanted to make sure there's also this urgent need, because we now have a little over half a year to have the kind of discussion that we've talked about numerous times
Mhm.
with the affected neighborhoods on the proposed East End school.
With that being said, is there any other questions for this? Are there any other questions?
I would
Is there a motion?
move that we create an ad hoc committee regarding the facilities master plan.
Moved by Mr. Traber, seconded by Mr. Benahan. Any further debate on that? All in favor to create an ad hoc committee for the facilities master plan, say aye.
Aye.
Um,
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? For those interested in the committee, please reach out to me. And I'll assign 3 board members based on interest. You could email me about it. The next item is a presentation of the fiscal year 2026-2027 operating budget and nutrition center budget for the board deliberations.
Good evening, everyone. Again, Dr. Avery, interim school superintendent, and I have Nesta Nicole, CFO.
Good evening, Nesta Nicole.
What we're going to do this evening is kind of go through the budget process. We have several up and coming meetings that we're going to dive deeper into the numbers that we'll be presenting to the board for final approval. But we wanted to kind of really take the time this evening to kind of work through the processes that we've done together collectively, not only with my team, but with the state technical assistance teams. Both teams have been joining forces with us to make sure that we're, changing the processes and procedures that we have in this district to make sure moving forward that we will ground it in collective support for building a budget. And so again, I know a lot of people are, have been saying, where's the budget? Where's the budget? Where's the budget? But I want to, and I do share that anticipation with you as well, because I think it's all encompassing of how we drive the district, right? So I think that's going to be important. My goal is to bring forward a comprehensive, fiscal responsible budget, a budget that reflects both our priorities and our realities. And those two things go hand in hand. And I think we want to make sure that we don't rush that process. And so what we're going to put forth to you today, you'll be able to kind of truly, hopefully understand that. But I do want to emphasize, though, that due to the fact that we had to, change the processes that the district has used over the last, 10, 15 years into a whole new accelerated timeline to really try to bring this thing together. We started a little bit later, probably a little bit after Thanksgiving, and usually the process starts October, September, those types of areas. So we're a little behind on the game a little bit. So what we've done, and with the help of the state technical assistance teams, is that we tried to slow down and be very strategic about how and when we're doing things. And so when the board gets that recommended budget from us, it is going to be a comprehensive overview of the financial or the lack thereof, issues that this district faces. And so we are very proud of the work we've done thus far. It's been a lot of long hours. And so we're going to share a little bit of those things, what we've done in this new process with you this evening. The components are essential to ensuring that we present an accurate, sustainable, and an aligned long-term goal planning perspective for this district. And so that's kind of where we are. And before we present a detailed final budget to you, and hopefully we'll be able to get that to you by the 26th of January, we want to do a few more public engagements about the process that we've gone through and collecting all that data in order to give you a whole full-fledged, comprehensive overview of everything, every voice, every dollar that we spent over the last couple of years. And we're going to take you through some of that history lesson this evening as Nestor and I move through it. So again, we appreciate, your patience. We appreciate your understanding. I appreciate my staff because I've stretched them a little bit, probably far more than we've ever done in my tenure, my 2-year tenure in this district, and we're working purposefully, and yes, but at the end of it, we may get criticized for it, but we're giving you our best effort. We're going to be our best product in order for you, again, to make that, because we have critical decisions to make moving forward. So again, I'll take you through, some of the things that we, come on. All right. Yeah. Again, the budget the process presentation, which will be today, going through a little bit of the thought exchange, some of the results and things that came about, additional budget forms that we're talking about, and then presenting the detailed dollar amount to you, by January 16th board meeting. January 26th, sorry. Our mission, Bridgeport Public School is dedicated in creating educational environments where students are at the heart of everything that we do. And we do that very well. And so the mission is very powerful, and in making sure that we empower each student to reach their full potential by fostering a culture of innovation, inclusivity, and personalized learning. And that's the heart of what we do. And that's why we're here every single day. Some of the progresses that we've made, as you can see in this list, it's a very comprehensive list. We're not going to go through detail by detail, but I just truly want to highlight a few of the things that is important to our team and working through some things. So if you look at some of the criteria here, it talks about teacher vacancies. We reduced from 150 plus teacher vacancies to down to 40. And that doesn't come easy because you have to get people to kind of want to be here in this district, want to be able to kind of educate the children that we serve within our walls and in our buildings in this district. And so again, back in October 2024, I'm sorry, I'm the wrong one. From 150 plus to 40, that's amazing. So again, I thank the staff for being able to do that. 4 schools getting off the turnaround list. And that's just within the last year, that we've done these things. Opening up new Bassic, a new website, new thought exchange and engagement for community. Those are huge things that are very important. I think the results of that district forensic audit, where nothing major came about, but just procedural things that we have to fix. And that's what you're going to see through this process, is that we're focusing in on those 34 recommendations that have to be completed and adhered to moving forward in this district. So that's very important to be able to come and work on. some of the challenges that we've dealt with over the last year or so is the rapid growth in special education costs. That's important that we serve our kids that we serve. And when you look at multilingual language students, special ed students, that's 50% of our populations. And it costs to educate those children more so than your average, regular student. Trying to make sure, even like last year, we had a balancing and fiscal responsible understanding that we got to make sure that we keep our students in our classroom safe. That's important. Making sure we give them the advantages that every other kid in Connecticut has is very important. And then, trying to make sure, and this is the budget challenge, is the revenue not keeping pace with inflations or student needs. And sometimes you have to pull the curtain back to really look at what those student needs are. And our student needs are great. And so as you see our budget, you'll be able to kind of equate to that. I think one of the important things I want to emphasize as well is a brand new budget timeline. Making sure that, again, we started in November. As we revise this budget timeline calendar for next year, the process starts in August. So we'll have a lot more work to be able to do. And excuse me for when the PowerPoint converted, some of the letters didn't come out in the PowerPoint. Sorry about that. But it was correct on my sheet is correct. But again, starting in November, working through the process, working through and talking with department heads and principals and really working through. So we're going to dive into some of those processes that are new this year in the time that we spent to make that happen. Sam, it's not moving. Yes, it is now. Let's talk a little bit about the timeline in the financial history. I think this makes and I want to spend a little bit of time here because I think from a community perspective, everyone needs to understand what has happened here over a period of years. And so you take, fiscal year 2020, as we all know, between 2018 and 2020, there was a lot of financial, difficulties in this district, and the district was really struggling to try to really make sure they had adequate funding to do what they needed to do to support children, right? 2020 came around. That was the first year of COVID. And the district received a lot of additional dollars to the district. And so that kind of helped the district, balance out some of the financial hardships that they were having. Although it was made quite frequently during that period of time that the ESSER funds should not be used, for staffing. And so as you look at what some of my predecessors, took part in over the last, 6 years prior to me being here, some of those funds were used not in a way that's going to be meaningful to, when the fundings are ended, which ended last year, 2024, 25, the district wouldn't have the issues that they're having now moving forward. So back in 2020, the district, again, was faced with cuts. The rise, the cost of continued to rise while the education cost sharing and the district funding remained the same. And so that's a huge piece. You move to 2021, that's where the relief came in. COVID-19 provided, ESSER dollars to the district, equating for about how much?
144 million altogether.
About 144 million, dollars, embraced into the district to kind of make sure that, the district had the funds to address those COVID perspectives. But again, the district used those dollars in a way that may have not been recommended, but they were. And so we keep it moving. So it takes you back to 2024. And that's when the ESSER fundings, ended, expired at that particular time, which had been, and remember, ESSER, those funds had been helping the district maintain, the status quo between 2020 and 2024. And that year was a year that we used a little bit of the remaining of the ESSER dollars to balance the budget.
25 till September 30th, 2024.
Yeah, and so all the funds had to be expended by September
30th.
2024. Again, so as you look at some of the historical data, budgetary data, you'll see all those things added to 2025. Yes. It was September 30th, 2025.
2025.
Wrong date. September 30th, 2025.
We extended it, yes.
Because they gave us an extension. So
2025.
yes. So again, 2024 is where you would see a lot of the strain coming back to the district. As you may know, Nestor and I, collectively with the team and the board, had to balance a $34 million,
$39 million cut.
in our budget back 2024, 2025. And a lot of that is to do with trying to kind of sum up the utilization of those dollars. Because back in 2020, between 2020 and 2024, staff was added, but in the meantime, staff was not reduced to equate to pre-COVID numbers. And so that keeps the budget moving. And so you have to be able to accommodate and find the dollars to be able to kind of make that work, right? So then in 2025, just really trying to maintain and stabilize classrooms and not disrupt very much. So we use the ISF fund to balance the budget. And the ISF fund is the savings account that the district had in order to kind of keep things maintained. And so that's where, the last of those dollars were spent in 2025, which is last year. So again, looking into 2027, 2026 and 2027, trying to find cost saving measures to be able to, get us where we need to be. So again, that's where we are. So you want to add anything else to that, Nestor?
No, you're fine. It's pretty much what it is, yeah.
So that's the historical piece of where we are and where we're moving to. So. Can you? Sorry, guys, we got technical difficulties. He's going to get this the PowerPoint back up. Right here, this right here is good. This is where I am. Right. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the processes that we've done. My team and with the help of the state technical assistance team, have developed a brand new updated annual budget planning guide. And what this guide will do has done for us is to kind of get, and for future perspective, is that it gives us a better way of being able to tackle the budget. There's a calendar there that we need to adhere to try to make sure that the planning process is a collective, collaborative perspective. And so we've done that and look forward to, this will be updated every year. moving forward, and being able to kind of make sure that we have written policies and procedures of what we're using to move us forward. Again, talking about the goals, my goals, your goals is strategic planning for district priorities. One of the main things that the board is wanting to be able to do once they get their new superintendent is to go through a strategic planning process, and so that'll encompasses and develop priorities for the district moving forward for the next 5 to 10 years. So that's very important. Goal is to really engage our parents and communities. I think that's an important piece for us to, when we start to have conversations, being able to get, myself and the board out there to have those conversations. Academic achievement and equity, making sure we have the same options and availabilities to academic, progress and opportunities that every kid in the state of Connecticut has. Being fiscal responsible and sustainable is something that we're driving to work on, and then making sure that we develop talent and retain talent is a huge part of what we're doing as well. The budget development engagement, I think it's important that you understand that, starting back in December 8th through December 18th, we spent almost 400 plus hours. Listen to me, 400 plus hours behind closed doors, talking to principals, talking to directors, making sure they're getting what they feel they need to run their buildings. Even though we may have a deficit budget, we had to make sure moving forward every year, it needs to be, the time needs to be given to making sure principal's voice, students' voice, community's voice is a part of this budget. And I think that's the important piece, that while you have to go slow with what we're doing and how we're doing it. Again, talking to school leaders and department heads, it's really important when you talk about school-based budgeting, this is what you do in school-based budgeting. And that's one of the things the state is driving my team to learn and understand, and hopefully be able to kind of bring the board into play with that as well. And that's important for me, I know for all of us, as we move forward. As you will see, these adjustments, resulted in an increase of about 43.9 school-based staffing positions, and you'll see that in the numbers that's going to be presented to you moving forward as well, along with 20 additional literacy and math coaches serving both elementary and high schools. And remember, those are wish lists and wish things that campuses and department heads are wanting in order to be able to, making sure that we can give our kids, the advantage that other districts are giving. So again, this is a very important process, and then it's going to be when I bring the data back to the board's going to have to decide on if they want to keep those things or not. And again, that's why it's taking a little bit longer to be able to do the things we're doing, because we didn't do that in prior years. We didn't give them the opportunity to talk about their needs in their individual buildings and departments, but we took the time to do that. And discerning all of that has been very tedious for us, because it's different, and because it's different, I think it's important that we pause enough to be able to understand it. And I think that's kind of where we are with this piece of it. Next slide talks about the audit recommendations. And I want to emphasize this too, because I don't want people to think that we've been sitting behind our desk and not adhering to what the audit told us we need to do. We had 34 recommendations that they provided us, and they're not just, night and day recommendations. They're things that you have to change your processes and procedures. You have to change how you even, understanding different processes and procedures that we've done in the past. And that's different. That's different for me, that's different for my staff, and that's going to be different for the board. So I'm hoping that you're going to be able to embrace, some of these. And if you have not had a chance to take a look at those 34 recommendations, you need to do it because it tells a story, of the things that this district did not do prior to the audit recommendations coming to us. And if they did it in a very, non-collaborative way. But we're going back. So the things that they've recommended, we're going through wholeheartedly and trying to make sure that we do. And a lot of things with getting public input, having those campus meetings, those are different process that the audit is telling us we need to be able to do. So we've done that. And I think that's important to be able to do. And but again, I just kind of wanted to emphasize those 34 things. And I can tell you the state technical assistance team they're right on us, making sure that we do not deviate and that we can justify to, not only to the board, but to the state that they actually took care of the cost of that audit. So they wanted to make sure that we're going to follow through with it as well. Some of the things that we also created was a new staffing allocation where each principal would know exactly what they're going to be getting, be it assistant principals. There's a formula that each one of them will have based on the number of students in your building. These things you will be able to get. As you get additional students, you get additional allocations. And so this is just a sample of one of the things and one of the ones that we did with elementary principals. And so if you read the headline there, it says increase in staffing using the school-based model resulted in an additional 63.9 FTE staffing, including 20 coaches. So again, that is important to be able to do. So as we come to things that we may have to cut or recess, this is the process that we're using to be able to do that. And as we bring them to the board, there's a process that we have to use in order to get here with that. So again, that's just a sample. Again, we talked about community forums. Most of you have been part of those community forums, but as we move forward, we're going to get into the numbers. I think that's where yourselves and I will be talking a little bit more about the numbers and making sure that we're aligning to, the priorities that the community said they wanted to be able to prioritize as well. Again, here are the priorities of the community: special education, support staff, technology, class size, and mental health. These are the things that the community are pointing out to us that we really wanted to make sure that we stay very focused on as we talk about the budget. And so we want to make sure that we keep those things, these priorities at the forefront of what we do as we move forward with the budget. Roundtables, again, I had an opportunity to kind of bring the students in play. I went to 2 campuses thus far. I have 3 more, 3 more campuses to go to get their input that I'll add to the input that will be given to the board as well. So again, it's just a matter of getting and having enough time to get away to go do those building meetings with those, and it's been probably the best opportunity because what they're talking and what they're telling the same thing that we're seeing in the data and in the recommendations from the community. So I'm really pleased with that. Local and state officials, again, we've done a lot of interacting with state officials, delegations, city council, doing a lot more of that. And to get a little bit more input of how we maneuver and how we request for additional funds. That includes building up our advocacy piece. We're getting ready to roll out a whole lot of things that we're going to be doing on the advocacy side, especially because the legislative session starting in early February. We're going to start and try to get out there on top of that as well. And I think for this slide, and I'm going to have Nestor talk a little bit more about this, but I want to kind of talk a little about the year-to-year finances. During the period of when ESSER fundings were available, Bridgeport Public Schools expanded staffing levels in 2022 and 2023 to meet student needs and support the recovery efforts of COVID. As the temporary funding began to wind down, we reduced positions in 24 and 25. However, these reductions did not fully offset rising costs, particularly costs of living increases in salaries and benefits, as well as continued growth in required special education staffing. And as a result, the district continues to face financial pressures even after making those adjustments. And so, Nestor, I'll have Nestor kind of talk a little bit about, this particular slide.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. The numbers you're seeing there for fiscal year 22, 23, 24, and 25 are actuals. Actuals means they're audited numbers by the auditors, by the independent auditors. So 26 is current year budget, pretty much. So those are audited numbers by independent auditors, district independent auditors. They're real, they've been validated. Progressively, they go up, some categories went up, some categories went down. Sometimes what happened there is movement of expenditures from one pot or from one fund, what you call fund, from the general fund to the grant budget. So when you see a decrease, let's take the instruction, for example, a decrease of pretty much $5 million from fiscal year 25 to 26. What happened there? We met with the state. The state preferred for us to move teachers into grants, alliance grants, move Kelly services or Delta that we pay, contracted services we pay, out of the grant into the operating budget. So when you see a decrease of $5 million in the instruction, mainly movement of teachers into the alliance grant to support students more, then move the contracted services, which is support services, which is where Kelly expenses fall into the operating budget. That's why you see the swap from one category to the other category. So the increase of $10 million in fiscal year 26 is basically moving mainly Delta Kelly paraprofessional, contracted paraprofessional expenses into the operating budget. The district has had, like Dr. Avery pretty much said, COVID money was there. The district used COVID money. When I started, I think about a year, maybe 12, 14 months ago, somewhere around there, the very first day I came before the board to present my findings of the district finances, I made it very clear. That year, 2025, the board, doesn't matter, for that year, $26 million of one-time use of money, which is the internal service fund, was used to balance the budget. And I told the board, outright, come next year, you're $26 million in a hole before you start adding cost of living increase. I sent out email, put out operational freeze account. Out of that $26 million was budgeted to be used to balance last year's budget. We were able to use only 21. So we kind of reduced the reliance on that, but we had to use some of that money that we saved to balance this year's budget, which is 2026, after we made a $39 million cut of program reduction. The problem hasn't gone away. The amount of money, $9.5 million that we used of one-time use for this year, basically what it means, again, next year you're not going to have that money because you're not going to have enough to replenish it. Automatically, it's starting with a $9.5 million budget shortfall in 2027. Then you add normal cost of living increase. Wage increase is about $8 million. So, but again, as much as we try to contain cost, we started trying to contain cost. First of all, I have to admit, the district should have started early, downsizing use of ESSER money by attrition That wasn't done. So, but that's why we had a massive, massive reduction last current year budget. And we're looking again to see how much more we can reduce the budget because of the financial constraints of the city, but not deprive Bridgeport students or children what they need for a good, better education.
And let me conclude by, saying I have no control, board has no control over what has happened in the past. Previous administration, made decisions to use ESSER funding, and we know that's a fact, right? But it does not negate the fact that salaries, benefits, cost of living, sped costs, transportation, they're all increasing, right? And as long as inflation continues to rise and the amount of funding district receives remains stagnant, the amount of money we need to run this district will also increase. And so that's where we are. No amount of cuts to staff or services would change the reality here. Everything will always increase. It will never go down, and the kids will continue to suffer because of it. We have to make sure that, me, as the steward and the interim school superintendent of this district, that I'll give you the number that is going to be what we are going to be the bare minimum of what we can use, what we need to run this district. We can inflate things, we can see the numbers because the numbers has been doing this, but I need a little bit more time to get exactly. So when I bring this board a number, it's going to be a number that's going to be needed to run this district, and just looking at preliminary numbers, it scares me because we don't have the dollars to do it. But I feel, we'll bring cost saving measures to you for consideration, but everything's going to be on the table. Everything. Things that people are going to like, dislike, regardless, everything is going to be put on the table because the board is going to have to help me and my administration, figure it out. We can give you, that's why it's so important to give you the right number, the number that I can, say, this is it. This is what we're going to need to run this district. So whoever feels city, state, whoever feels the need to be able to help us, they're going to know we got to have this, and to me, I think that's the best way to go. And that's what I want to bring to you as a board. Again, the next step is going to finalize detailed budget presentation and to present those numbers to you on the 26th. But in the meantime, between now and the 26th, I think I'm suggesting to the board to have some additional budget forum meetings to discuss in detail some of the things that we're going to start giving you to digest. There's a lot. So that's where it is. So Madam Chair, I'll turn it back to you.
In favor?
Thank you, Dr. Avery. I guess I'm a little, you're going to give us a budget that tells us how to provide a subpar education for our children because we don't have enough money?
Repeat your question.
It's a facetious question. I'm going to be upfront with you. We know that our district has been underfunded by the major sources of funds. Mr. Nicole knows because he used to work for the city. The state has underfunded us. The city has underfunded us for decades, for generations. And we know it's going to be a problem this year. And the deck is stacked against our children. And we're fighting to try and get more resources. We discussed this. I'm not going to go on about it. And so you're putting together a budget Now, the presumption, I guess the question is, what's the bottom line in the budget you're gonna produce? Are you gonna produce an operating budget that says, okay, based on how little we're gonna get, here's the impossibly horrible education we're gonna provide our children? Or are you gonna put together a budget that says, here's how much it's gonna cost to provide our children the education they deserve?
That's what I'm.
And so, right. And so then we go to our city leaders and our state leaders and say, here's how much money we need to provide our children the education they deserve. Now, at some point this spring, we know we're gonna get to how much do we need to cut out of that based on the reality of what they give us. I get that. I get that ugliness that's gonna come into our job. But that's not in January, that's in April, May.
June.
No, May.
Yep,
The city budget's May,
May, yep.
and the short session ends in May. So it's May.
End of May.
But it's not now. You're putting together a budget based on what people are telling you, we're telling you, everyone's, you know, all the input you're getting of what our children deserve, what a good education for our children would be, what your recommendation is. And then sometime later this year, we're all going to sit down and say, here's what the reality is of what we can afford to do. Right?
You're spot on, and
Right,
that's exactly,
exactly.
you know, but I think I want to emphasize that it's deciding exactly what you're talking about. I mean, we're at a level right now that you see all the accomplishment we had. I mean, we're bare minimum right now.
I
You know,
get that.
so
I believe
we
we
need to up that a little bit.
we've used the rather distasteful analogy that we cut down to the bone last year, and now we're starting to amputate. But we don't want to be there.
Nope.
We want to go to the state, and we want the city to kick in. And at the session last Saturday, we talked about the city needs to step up its game so that we can get the state to step up its game. And that's what we're hoping for this spring. Now, it's a short session when the state doesn't normally, but the state is sitting on a boatload of money. But we do need the city to step up its game too. And that's where we're sort of hoping that everybody realizes that's what has to happen here. And that's what we're praying for and gonna work for, that happens.
And I can tell you, Mr. Traber, I have upcoming meetings with, you know, state technical assistance teams and the city and the mayor, you know, to talk about just that, the budget. What are we needing? I mean, so it's a different kind of conversation that we've had in the past. And so I'm hoping that they're hearing and once we educate the community, hopefully they will give a little bit of pressure.
Clearly, we got that sense from our municipal leaders that were in attendance last Saturday.
Yep.
You know, I have gotten that sense from the mayor, and I hope that continues. You know, and I don't know where we'll go, but it is in election years with the state leaders. So whether they're willingly coming along with us or unwillingly, we do have some leverage to use this year, which is the only leverage you can use with elected leaders, which is the votes. And so we should use that to the max. And working with other municipal leaders throughout the state, hopefully that works too. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Skolowik.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first off, I'd like to start with the history lesson. I've been here a little longer than everybody. Those COVID funds that were spent was not spent on luxuries. They were spent on necessities our children have been doing out for years and years and years and years. So be careful in framing it as something we weren't supposed to do. Our children were suffering. We had no computers, we had no laptops, they needed counseling, they needed all these things that all the other districts were getting over time. It took a pandemic to give our children that. So I will not regret any decision they made or we made at that time to spend that money
to feed, basically what amounts to feeding our children with a bonus that we got, something that they weren't able to eat before. Now, that being said, going right back to, we don't want to dwell on history, but we got to give an accurate history. The intention always was, even as we were spending that money, to go down through attrition. We got a new superintendent who went the exact opposite of that and started hiring. And we got more and more administration. So now that's going to bring me to some of my questions. I'm looking at the administration number on this little bit of document that we do got. And here's only $140,000 off of where we were last year. Unless I'm reading the administration for 2025 is reading at $2,376,320. And this year's reading is $2,234,818. Why such a small drop when we did all this accessing?
Excess, when we did excess what?
I mean, what's included, what's encumbered in this? We lost a lot of central staff. We lost assistant principals. We lost directors.
You automatically, you have cost of living increase, you have wage increase and health insurance.
I would like to know a raw number of the administrators we have today versus 2025 versus 2024. I asked for that information.
2022 or 2025 and 2026, which year?
Well, I would like to have a comparison of the numbers in pre-COVID to today, and
Okay.
from the last year when we started cutting from our high point to now. How many less administrators do we have on staff in total?
Just give me the fiscal years you're looking for, then I'll compare them.
Well, let's start with exactly how many administrators we have now in central office.
And then go
Okay,
back, and then go back.
I'll provide it.
And yes,
Microphone.
oh,
Just, I mean, just for the sake of this, you really go from 1.6 to 1.2. Sorry, it's a little small. 1.4, sorry, to 1.2,
Mhm.
to 1.5,
It
to
goes up.
2.3,
That's correct.
to 2.2. So how many administrators are we covering with that?
All those figures, I'll provide
Oh,
it.
that's it,
I'll provide the
He'll
data.
get- he'll get that.
you know?
yeah, comparative level, basically every year on this spreadsheet.
Sure.
Because we need to know where we are, and because, as you said, we gotta have tighten our belts now.
Yeah, and this is one of the documents that the state was really adamant that we provide you guys, is the year to year, because you can break that year to year down and see what the money was spent on. And so it's important that, even for us moving forward, being able to look at those numbers, and equate what and how we're impacting the academic growth of the district. So you're right, though, Mr.
Right
President.
now, I would like to speak to a little bit about the wording of the agenda. Everybody was led to believe that today would be a budget presentation of the 26-27 fiscal year for the operating budget of Food Nutrition Center. We sat through the community forums. Mr. Unquo was holding back the numbers and said it would be presented tonight. And actually, sitting here tonight, I did not really glean one piece of additional information that I did not have before I sat down here. And I'm very, very concerned because we don't have the numbers. We've got a preliminary number. I mean, we don't have to finish A before we start B. We don't have to go to C. We should know at this point in time how much our escalated costs would be to keep the exact same level of services we got right now. Do we have that number, Mr. Unquo? Through you, Dr. Avery, Mr. Unquo?
We'll provide you that data on the 26th.
But do we have it at hand now?
No.
I don't have it.
We don't, so we don't.
I don't have it.
All right, so let me try another tactic. The old number was $37 million before the 20% increase in healthcare costs. What does that 20% increase in healthcare costs amount to?
If I may, the superintendent and I will present the board with a detailed financial budget for next year.
Are you telling me you don't have that number computed yet because you're doing all these other things?
I do not have it completed at this moment. We do not. We're vetting through it to make sure, throwing out or pushing out a number without making an attempt to reduce that gap, it's not really responsible on the superintendent's part or my part. All my career, I've never done it. Never done a budget where I just compile numbers and throw it to the administration and say, here's how much it is, without even taking any initiative to reduce that deficit.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I understand that.
Chair.
But I'm watching districts across the state come out with their budgets and they're facing the same increased healthcare costs and they got their numbers in there. Why can't we as a district with an astronomically higher level of administration from the year 2024 to today do the minimal work that they were doing in 2023 and presenting these budgets before January 26th?
Sure.
And we can't even answer the simple question. of
Dr.
how
I'm going to answer your question, sir.
Dr.
Let me answer your question. You know, we're working. We're going to give you the numbers. We're going to give you the numbers as soon as we get them. And we're not like other districts in Connecticut, Mr. Skovic. We're totally different from other districts in Connecticut, you know, and so we have to do our business a little bit different. And that's what we're doing. We're getting guidance from the state of Connecticut and the two states' technical assistance team. Hear me out before you interrupt me. You know, we're doing it the way it should be done. And so if it's not the way you want it, I'm sorry, but it's the way that we've been instructed to do. We have technical assistance team members helping us do it. And so we will have numbers. You trust me, you're going to be they're going to be very accurate. We're not just throwing numbers at you, sir. We're going to make sure that they're accurate. Right now, we don't even know if it's 20%, insurance increase or 15% insurance increase. A lot of districts around the state of Connecticut is doing 15% increases in insurance, right? But the people that we met with said 20%. So again, if we went and just only did a 15%, increase in insurance, that's about a what? $5 million, $6 million savings to where you can cut from the initial budget. That's what we're trying to do. So give us the ability to do that. And I respectfully understand that you're so used to the way it's always been. But this is a whole new roadshow that we're trying to do done differently, okay? So just please bear with us a little, give us a little grace, and I think you'll be pleased.
So to be clear, you mentioned the state and they want you to do this and this and that. Did the state implicitly tell you not to release any numbers to the Board of Education when they asked?
No, sir.
Because if healthcare costs were $10 million last year and there's a $20 million increase, you should be able to tell me off the top of your head it's going to cost an extra $2 million. Right now, the only number we got is $37 million. That's the solid number that's going upwards from there. But how much upwards? You can't even give us at 15%, of 20%. You can't even give us estimates. The numbers will never be settled. What's going to be next? We're going to wait to see how many special education students come back in district. We don't got that number, so we can't put that down. Are we going to keep until we get solid numbers? The budget is a fluid.
The budget will come out January 26th. Do you have any more questions?
Yes, I do have several more questions.
Move on.
Why are we having more community forums? What are we gleaning from them? We're asking, we got enough information, and we can't even tell them anything. What we need to do is get out in the community and tell them what we need to keep operating. We don't want, we got the survey, we got the.
So you
get
said,
5 people to.
so you're saying not to have any more community meetings?
I'm saying since you're so stressed, since the people are spread so thinly, the time would be better spent getting those numbers out to us sooner rather than later. That's all I got.
Mr. Benahan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, thank you, Dr. Avery. Thank you, Hector, for your presentation. As always, very professional and very clear. And very surprised because the state say we don't do the job. They don't know. They say that we don't know what we're doing, and it's very clear everything you say. They know what we want and what we need. So it's very shame them that are not here. I never see them come on a board education meeting.
They're here. They're on.
Online, okay, but not online. Well, we have a chair, we got a vice chair, we got a secretary, and what the rest of the board members. We 9 board members. I would love to sit down with them and speak and listen to them, as a team. That's a message
Like right
I
now.
know, but I
No,
like
We
to.
haven't met with them. They're online right now.
I know that, Madam Chair, but I'm saying as a team, sit down and listen, not only online and stuff like that. So that's my opinion. Be almost 20 years in the district. From my son started the first grade, he graduated from Bassett High School. I see so many superintendents come in and out. I see so many drama in the Bridgeport Public School. You came and you start open drawer under the rug, doors, everything. What the another superintendent hide for not bringing out what's going on in Bridgeport Public School because they were scared to let another community, parent, student, everything, what we going through. But now that you came in, you bring everything out and put it on the table and try to bring all this information to everyone so they can know what we want. I don't know why we trying to hold the process, our process, and everything. So, like I said, be almost so many years and see you bring everything out and put it on the table. We are not, it's not you and us way behind. And I know you and your team, they're doing so many things. I'll be witness between Monday to Sunday, your staff working. And it's not easy, and we got personal life, we got personal health issues, stuff like that. And sometimes we put it on the side to be sure you and your team and us to be sure Bridgeport Public School be, process. We be trying to do the best we can. Because Connecticut, Bridgeport is the big city and the district. It's true that Mr. Sokoloff say another town, but guess what? We are not the other town. We're Bridgeport. We're Bridgeport Public School. We're here to support and help our students, parents, and staff. It's not easy. It's not easy me here sitting down here. I'm going through personal life and situation. Guess what? I'm here because I care. And you care and your team care. So I want the message, if we sure the people understand, we working, we trying to do the best we can. You trying the best you can in your team because we are not perfect, only God. It made me sad and angry that we trying to do the best we can and put everything in the table and they don't see it. And like I say, I would love to have the state come and sit down with us in the meeting that can see what's going on. Be the email, be online. For me, no, let's go face to face. Talk as the way we are professional. But I have to say thank you, you and your team, and I'm here to support you. And thank you for everything you do, and your team. It's not easy, but you know something? Together we can make the difference. We're not gonna give up. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any more questions? I see Mr. Woodson.
I just have one comment. I think that hopefully we were listening to Dr. Avery during his presentation. Like you said, this didn't start yesterday, didn't start last year. This started probably way before 2020. We got money. The state said that we mismanaged the money. That was the start. That's the start of our problems right there. I don't know why, it's so hard to understand that we, this board together, but this board in the past mismanaged money, and now we're just here to try to fix, right all the wrongs from the past. Mm-hmm. People want to go back to the past, saying, trying to explain previous, mistakes and stuff. I mean, we should just learn from them and move on. I said it 1,000 times before. We have to get our own house in order. You cannot go asking people for money, and you haven't showed, in the past that you could do the right thing with the money. So at least show that you could do the right thing with the money. Help Dr. Avery, get to where he needs to go. And then if the state wants to step in where we know and help where we're lacking, then let them do that. But we have to get our finances in order before we ask for money. We cannot present a budget where it's over. You want to send Nestor to jail. You want to?
No, you're not.
You wanted to present a budget that's over. So, you know, you want to send our administration to jail. Why can't we just let Dr. Avery present a budget that's underneath and you know where we need to be, and then move on from there. Why you want to try to make the guy present a budget that's not underneath what underneath the 304 million that we're allocated every year? You know, I just don't get it. Just let Nestor and the administration do their jobs. We vote on it, we okay it, and then after we complain about what we don't have. But all this time that we're sitting here wasting, crying about stuff that we don't have, that we're not gonna get. We might as well just let the men do their job, men and women do their job, and then vote on what we don't have after. Thank you.
Mr. Traber,
Yeah, I think we're confusing two kinds of meetings. I understand, Dr. Avery, your community meetings now, community forums are soliciting ideas and input. And I think that's one value, and these are in January.
Yes.
The ones you're talking about, Mr. Sokolovic, are the meetings that we've done in February and sometimes into March, which are to let people know about the budget and the needs that we're going to have with that budget. And so we have a budget on January 25th that gives us ample time to do those meetings too.
Yes.
So I don't think we're ruling out either of the meetings. So we're, I think, fine on that.
May I just clarify?
Yes,
Right there, because
yes,
you spoke-
go ahead.
spoke
You
to
let
it.
me
Yeah,
interrupt you.
thank you. Yeah, it's just, I was speaking to additional community forums before we have a budget before us, not after.
Yes, yeah, and so if he's soliciting more ideas, I think that's fine. I have a concern about the page 15, the thought exchange ideas that you raised. Because one thing that strikes me as missing in these priorities, and I wonder, one is the sort of absence of what I would call academic tutors or coaches. It's sort of, the absence of sort of understanding how the educational process works. Your Sam, can you put it back up there?
Let me explain that those priorities from the Thought Exchange was the overall,
Yeah.
not specifically from teachers or
Yeah.
administrators. So yeah, it was just a total
Yeah, so the input is coming from everybody that threw in there are 2 bits.
yes.
Yeah, I get it.
Yes.
And so in that process, a lot of non-educators are putting in their 2 bits.
Mhm.
That's my point.
Yep.
So, they had, special ed, support staff.
Yep.
Technology, class size, a lot of good ideas. I'm not criticizing the ideas, but the absence of coaches and tutors and things like that scares me.
But in the other communications that we got from directors and administrators,
Okay.
you're gonna see coaches in
Yeah,
that.
and that's what I'm saying. So.
We're
okay,
discerning out.
Good.
So when we bring
Good.
that budget to you, you're gonna be able
Good,
to
'cause
see
we're gonna
that
need those things too.
and the dollar amount that's attached to that.
Okay.
Absolutely,
And
you
that's,
are.
and so the other area that I noticed is missing is multi-language learning.
Absolutely.
Which would reflect, in my opinion, the absence of those individuals,
Yes.
of non-English speaking individuals participating
Yep.
in that process.
Yep.
Okay,
And the clarity that came about in Saturday's meeting was just that, because I think we lump everything under special education and we don't distinguish the multilingual language, portion of that as well. So moving forward,
we've done a
that was
pretty good
clear.
job of getting special ed people to advocate, but we haven't sort of I concern myself about non-English speaking people.
With you 100%,
Okay.
100%.
So that's what I
Yep.
wanted to point out, those
Yep.
concerns.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. And then I wanted to speak to you, which I will more next week when we meet, since we didn't meet this week, about the advocacy plan. Yeah.
And Tim and Giancarlo is getting ready to get that out for the
Well,
community. Guys as well.
we need to work on that.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay, so those are the two things.
I'm going to assign you as chair
I
of
wanted to,
the
well, I
advocate.
just wanted to raise it because we need to start getting focused on that.
So this does deviate a little bit from our budget calendar that we had set a couple weeks ago, which would have put a committee meeting next week.
Mhm.
Are we holding that at this point? Since you're presenting the budget on the 26th rather than tonight?
And presented
So
to
the-
the committee.
Right. We really, I don't, unless the board wants to, it's really need to go to the full board instead of just a committee, you know, because so that you guys can digest it. Because at that point, hopefully what you'll do with me is go out into the community and start breaking it down and we have those kind of forums together to talk a little bit about their wants where each board can go into their constituency, you know, neighborhoods and have those types of meetings with them as well. Would be helpful to kind of make sure that we can get the voice of their constituents as well.
Well, Madam Chair, from my experience, the budget gets presented to the full body, which is the council or the board. Then the board, the council or the board decides, refers it to the finance committee for review, which every board member is entitled to attend. Then deliberation and everything, it gets out of the finance committee or the budget committee, voted in as to what cuts they need to make. Again, all board members can chime in suggestions while the budget committee is deliberating, then have a consensus to go to the full board for final ratification or adoption of the budget.
So you're saying it's going to the full board twice? It went after the presentation, through committee, back to the, so that does pose,
The board is
that takes up our February, which
The
should
board
be,
is referring
advocacy.
the budget to the committee automatically without
Mhm.
even,
I
they
mean-
can ask questions, but at the end of the session after presenting it to the board is definitely referring it to the budget committee or the finance committee, whichever body that reviews their finances or budget. Again, every board member is welcome to attend the committee meetings, make
Yeah.
suggestions, make recommendations, debate, whatever, pretty much. Yeah.
Seeing no further questions, any, Mr. Traber, final?
We need to get out into the community and start arguing about the budget, though.
Mhm.
We need to start advocating about the budget.
Mhm.
And so we need to know what our final budget is as soon as possible.
Yes.
And the way you just described it, we're not going to know that till later in February.
No, we will present you a budget with
25th,
recommendation. The
Goes to
superintendent,
committee, comes back.
Would
can't go February.
the board prefer
Go
that
right
we
there.
do, you know, that meeting instead of a committee meeting, do a special call board meeting to talk about budget on the 26th is when we have it.
Right.
Next
No,
week
if-
is,
If you're gonna have it the 26th, we can have it the 26th.
yes, that's
The
just,
back and forth between, from board to committee to full board, that's gonna take up February. February's a short month. It's gonna go back and forth. When do we get the forms in? When do we, March, we're gonna go before the city council, I believe, in March or early April. So it's cutting it close. This is still early. I did want to say that this is still early than we have in the last 2 years.
Mhm.
But the back and forth, I think maybe if we just bring it for the full board and we can get that number Friday before the meeting so that folks can actually take a look at
yes,
the presentation and
absolutely,
not be surprised on Monday.
absolutely. We
I
can
know
definitely do that.
we do need that earlier, even if it's draft form. I think we need to see that.
whatever,
Minimum 48 hours before the meeting,
Ninth.
Madam Chair, and the-
26th.
whatever we,
Yeah, 2 weeks
whatever
after that would be the ninth.
whatever number
No.
we provide you that date will probably not get worse. It can only get better if we come up with more ideas of programs to streamline the gap or the deficit.
Mhm.
So, I mean, whatever we
Yeah.
provide you.
Yeah, so on
When
the-
do we have to send it to city council? When's the deadline on that?
Uh,
Because that's another timeline piece. If we're going back and forth between committee and when does our budget have to go before city council
I forgot, I don't have the calendar. I think it's, January.
or the mayor?
I think it's I'm putting up my head, January 31st.
So that gives us 5 days.
Well, I mean, generally, if you remember, what the board does is
Approved.
based on based on the number of, based on the deficit size, the board decides how much they will ask the city, a lump sum number, and that's what we add on to the ask of the city. Last year was $30 million. That's what the board to request from the city. That's the way the board has done it for the longest time that I know. Even when I was on the city side, there's never been a year that is less than $18 million asked from the board.
Okay. So I think the expectation is that the 26th, we will get the full, the proposal. And hopefully a couple days earlier, the board will receive that in their portal so we can review it.
Yes.
And I'm assuming, and I guess I'll talk with, I guess the board will have a conversation about this at that meeting, but we may have to send it to city council that day. If it's due to 31st to, is it the mayor's office first? Or
Oh, no, you don't, okay. If it's due to 31st, all the board has to do is determine how much money they want the city
The ask.
to ask for. We only put one lump sum number when we enter Board of Education, my office, the minutes of how much money the district is asking from the city. Lump sum, one lump sum amount.
So you'll have your number,
You'll have
and
your
you'll have your
number.
number of what
Right.
what we should be
Right.
asking
Right.
for.
What we should be asking for the city. So even around, I mean, that's all we do. That's the way the board handles it. You vote on a number, $10 million. I don't know what the board wants.
All right. So again, so on the 26th, we'll get the numbers.
One single number, that's all the board has to vote. They want from the city. Or they're asking.
Make it 50.
They're asking of the city.
Any further questions? Ms. Esther Jimenez?
I don't have a question. I have a comment. I did want to mention to all the board members, during the Saturday board forum, I did have the opportunity of speaking with, City Council President, Jeanette Herron, and she actually invited us to the budget committees. And she really invited us to, have that collaboration between city council, and I think that would really help in hopefully getting more money from them. So just kind of wanted to put that out there. And it does happen on the second Monday of every month.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I do have an update for you. If you look at our new budget calendar that we created for the board, it has the board meeting, BOE regular meeting approval of operating budget. February the 7th, as BOE submits operating budget to the mayor's office.
Okay.
And then March the 3rd, mayor submits capital budget to the city council. And then March 23rd, mayor submits proposed general fund budget to the city council. And then June 16th, city council sets the mill rate. That's the timeline that we took from the city side, but we put them in our own budget calendar so that we know exactly how we're going to do the business. So that's there. And I think I actually shared that calendar with you. If not, I'll make sure you get another copy of that tomorrow.
That's based on the new charter dates that the council.
Yeah, they changed the charters and all that.
Because I see Mr. Chairman in the corner of my eye. Our advocacy will begin sooner because it's a short session. So
Yes.
We'll need to begin advocating yesterday.
When he sets the mill rate, so the budget is set before the mill rate,
Yes.
Yes, the council adopts the budget
before the mill rate.
for the mill rate, 7 days after adoption of the budget, then the mill rate is set. But again,
If they don't change, if there's that hiatal period where the council could disagree. You know, that
the council.
little period where
Well, yeah, but in general, once they adopt a set amount of dollars, based on revenues and based on expenditures, they have no choice, but they're locked into a certain mill rate that was calculated for that number. They can decide to reduce the mill rate. However, then they have to make more cuts in order to reduce that mill rate. And to do it within 7 days, very confusing for them, believe me, that doesn't really. They can, but generally, once they adopt the budget based on the whole voting is pretty much done.
That whole issue of years ago. About voting to change. It's not worth us debating here.
Well,
It is.
there was a game, well, there was a technical reason how the mayor got away with it.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it that way.
Yeah, let's leave it that way. Back to you, Madam Chair.
No other questions? I know we had, just want to acknowledge that Public Works was on the call with us, so I just want to acknowledge that they were here. So thank you for joining us. Seeing no other comments, the next item is a motion to adjourn. So is there a motion? Moved by Mr. Benahan. Second by Mr. Sakalovic. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We will adjourn at
Thank you.
8:05.
Good night.
Thank you.